Yes, sir.
Good evening, everybody. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Sims.
Here.
Councilman Pataglia is absent. Mayor LaBrus.
Here.
This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6 et sec. Notice having been published according to law with a copy on file in the city clerk's office and a copy posted on the bulletin board in City Hall.
Would everybody please rise for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. And with that, we'll go right into the agenda, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and invited guests. This is the August 20th Council of the Whole meeting. First on the agenda is a issue of discussion for residential parking stickers. Because of the construction at the hospital, it appears to the city that people are now migrating towards a certain section of town and parking in what's normally being used by residents. So to address that issue, the city is going to create a $5 sticker for residents so they will be covered in this zone for residential parking first. This will include First Street, Second Street, Third Street, High Street, Clay Street, and a portion of James Street. Once this is put into place and it's approved by ordinance, we will then look at to see if there's other streets that need to be covered. But during the process of the construction at the hospital, it is clear to me and clear to the police and the parking leadership that we're taking advantage of residential parking because they don't have to pay the fee, they don't have to pay the meter, and residents are basically blocked out. Not fair. You folks pay taxes. You folks maintain this. We, out of respect, need to maintain these communities, and that is our plan. And if we fall short of that, you have a responsibility to call a city manager up and bring it to his attention. He will fix that. So my solution is for this to be adjusted and approved by the mayor and council tonight. You folks will have the ability to come in, pay a $5 fee. Your driver's license has to match your address. That way the resident gets the bonus for paying taxes and living in the great city of Hackensack. And after this is approved, you folks can stay for the whole night of the meeting, which will be very exciting, or you can leave if you choose. So, is there any questions of the?
If you don't mind, if anybody has any questions,
Well, I can open it to the public on this issue only. If they don't want to wait through the 8 o'clock meeting, because that's not going to be decided till the 8 o'clock meeting. All in favor of that?
Yes.
Need a motion to open to the public, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, none opposed? Anybody from the public who would like to speak to the parking issue, please
You
come
gotta come
forward.
up to the mic.
Good evening. My name's Tom Locicero. I'm the owner of All Points Towing at 314 2nd Street. Couple of things. First of all, only residents seem to have gotten the notice about this particular meeting and discussion on this ordinance. All the businesses on 2nd Street didn't get this notice. I don't know why. But either way, we have a severe issue with this resident-only parking from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. The reason being is that my business, along with other businesses on the street, have been there before some of the residences have been there. Since 1925, Hackensack Auto Records has been there. They have no off-street parking. In the 1980s, 1970s, late 70s, early 80s, when my family bought that property, we tried to alleviate the off-street parking issue by knocking down the home that's between my building and Hackensack Auto Records. The city denied that because it's a residential. They wanted to keep it residential. So my family renovated it and now rent it out to local residents. So Hackensack Auto Wreckers and myself has very limited, Hackensack Auto Wreckers has 0 off-street parking. We have customers that bring us their vehicles after we close at 5 p.m., put them on the street overnight to be serviced the next morning. All of our equipment, all of our vehicles go inside the buildings at night. Our customers will leave cars on the street, and first thing in the morning, when we open up at 7 a.m., they come inside the building. This is going to be a problem for us, along with other businesses. My building that I'm in, I have 2 drivers that work overnights. They park their vehicles on the street because most of the time I don't have any parking. I only have 4 parking spaces in front of my building, and we utilize those for police impounds and wrecked vehicles that we tow for the city of Hackensack and others. So there's going to be an extreme hardship on these businesses if you adopt this. There has to be some type of solution. I understand the problem. I see it every day when we go down 2nd Street over between American Legion and Central Avenue. It's packed. There's not a single parking space for any residents over there. I understand what's going on, but that's the hospitals. The hospital should be taking care of that. They should be finding parking for their employees and shuttle busing them back and forth. It shouldn't be on the backs of the residents, and certainly the residents shouldn't have to pay for a parking permit. If you do adopt this, they're already paying taxes that are through the roof. And that's not only Hackensack, it's everywhere in the state of New Jersey. How much more can you put on everybody? A lot of the homes that have been built all around 1st Street, 2nd Street, 3rd Street may only have 1 parking space. That's when people had 1 driver in the house. Now you have several. So they have to utilize the street. So now you're going to tell me that if they have 4 cars, they're going to have to buy a parking permit for every one of those cars? That's not fair. This situation is the Hackensack Hospital, Hackensack Medical Center's responsibility to correct it. And they need to tell their employees, do not park on the residential streets, and they need to find parking and pay for it and shelter their employees. This ordinance, if it goes through, will essentially stop us from being able to service customers that are in the neighborhood, customers that are not in the neighborhood. They won't have anywhere to put their car at. When they get home from work at 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, they can't put their car on the street. I mean, there has to be a correction to this. You can't just overregulate this. I mean, the businesses on 2nd Street, like I said, the junkyard has been there since 1925. A lot of those houses weren't there in 1925. When the zoning laws were changed in the 80s, they became, and my building became, non-conforming pre-existing. You can't essentially put us out of business by doing this. So there has to be a happy medium somewhere here, and it's the hospital's responsibility to take care of it, not the residents and not the mayor and council. So by adopting this, you're going to put a hardship on not only the businesses that have been there for a long time, but all the residents also. Thank you.
I'm going to make a recommendation, if the rest of the council is all right with it, that we table this and
Wait, time out. I don't know about my opinion. The hospital.
no, we'll hear the people. I have no problem with that. It's open.
The hospital workers already know and have been told to park in designated areas, and they choose not to. So this is the part of the solution, so they don't park in our neighborhood.
And it was the recommendation because we've had to do this in other areas and it worked. There has to be, and I understand we have to work something with the businesses, and that's something that we have to consider. I think that's
Absolutely.
what the mayor is saying. But as far as residential goes, we've had this problem not only with hospital parking, but we've had this problem with folks taking buses into New York City and parking in residential areas so they could hop on a bus and get into Newark. So what we've done throughout the city where these kinds of problems have been reported, this solution has worked in other neighborhoods, because now you have your sticker, the police officers are driving by, they know that you're allowed to park there. If you don't have a sticker, then you're gonna get a ticket. So we don't, there's no way that someone can drive past their police officer and know that this person doesn't live here or know that this is a hospital employee. And the medical center has plenty of parking, and they provide shuttles. So they have more than enough parking that they can. But as I think it was Dave or the mayor said, they choose not to. They don't want to wait for a shuttle. They don't want to get on over the shuttle. So they just figure we can get away with this, so we'll just park here. And that's what's very difficult to enforce.
And there's no way to enforce it unless you have something like
Unless you have
this
some
that's going to-
designation that these folks live here, so they are allowed to have their cars here. That's why we're proposing this. But thinking about the businesses, I think that's what we
Now,
have
to the gentleman, to the gentleman who just spoke, what they do up at Hiller School, when a teacher or a sub comes up there, they call the police department and they give them the plate number and the kind of vehicle it is. This car is gonna be parked on 2nd Street, from Joe's Auto Body Shop. It's gonna be here all day, and they don't get a ticket. That's what they do in the Hiller section.
I understand that, sir. However, if you have people dropping off their cars after we close, we don't have that. We don't have that knowledge. We can't call the police department and tell them, hey, there's gonna be a red Buick in front of our place at 308 2nd Street. We may not know that until the following morning when the business opens up.
All right, let's keep going with public comment then. But I'm going to, and it slipped by us, but we usually limit public comment to 3 minutes, so if you would set the timer, please.
I did, I just didn't, it went off.
I didn't hear it go off, that's why.
It was under my papers.
All right. Ma'am, I'm sorry.
Sally Ann Maggio, the Cicero, the owner of Hackensack Auto Wreckers. As it was mentioned just previous, I am a taxpayer here since 1925. My business, been a family business since that time. I am a taxpayer. I did not get notified of this change in the ordinance, and this is going to cause a huge hardship on me. I don't think it's fair that the town, who was allowed Hackensack Hospital to expand to the size that it is and continues to allow it to expand. Now you're asking the homeowners and you're asking businesses in the town that I've been a loyal taxpayer since 1925 to take the burden of Hackensack Hospital. That's unfair. I'm coming to you as a taxpayer since 1925 and asking you not to pass this. And please consider how many people you're going to hurt by passing. I understand it's a huge problem. We all understand it's a huge problem. But the problem lies in Hackensack Hospital. It should have been foreseen. It should have been looked at a long time ago of what you were going to do. And again, I express myself. You continue to allow that hospital to expand. In the future, what I see, Hackensack will only be Hackensack Hospital. And you will push everyone out of Hackensack. You're trying to rebuild this town with businesses, to bring people back into this town. And you want to hurt a mom and pop business like me. And I will have a huge hardship because I don't have off-street parking. We have a hassle now trying to find. I have to park in the park because I don't have a parking space when I come to work. We do all that we can to try to alleviate the problem on 2nd Street. At me as a business owner. And I'm asking you guys to consider the mom and pop businesses that have been here are the roots of Hackensack and not to hurt my business. Please. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir?
Good evening. My name is Donald Golson. I live on James Street between 2nd and 3rd. And I just want to say this idea really stinks because, first of all, James Street, we don't need it. Between 2nd and 3rd, there's plenty of parking. I took videos all this week, but my phone broke. I couldn't show it. But all along 3rd, there was plenty of parking all day. I've been living there for 15 years. I've rarely seen anybody leave with scrubs or anything walking up to the medical center. And far as any kind of survey, what was done beforehand to show that this is a problem? You know, just because the police drives by and sees somebody with scrubs one day, that's to say that all people from Hackensack is parking there and going up there to work. I mean, you're talking like the decision has already been made without the voice of the people in the neighborhood. So, but we don't need it between 3rd and 2nd on James Street. So, I mean, I don't know what's going to be passed, but that should be considered. We have parking all day long. I have never seen anyone from the hospital leaving their cars there from New York or anything to walk. You know, that's ridiculous. To park on James to go to the hospital. You need to call it Uber or Lyft to do that. It's insane. And the taxes that I pay, the bigger issue should be fix the streets between Passaic and Central. They've been patching those streets up for 20 years. Do something to beautify the city. The sign's been there since George Washington. I mean, there's bigger issues in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, please.
Hello, I also live on James Street, and I also have a huge issue with this parking permit. A couple reasons. I had to change jobs recently, and my home is a little expensive to live in, so my nephew decided to come down from New York to help me out. So he has 2 cars. I have a driveway, but I park in the driveway, he parks in the driveway. His other car, he parks on the street. His license is registered to New York. It is what it is. But the point of the matter is, now you're telling me that now he can't stay there because you guys want a ticket because because he's parking his car on the street. There's plenty of parking on James Street and also at least between James and Clay. I come down that street all the time. There's plenty of parking at all times. I don't understand why you guys are saying that there's no parking. There's plenty of parking. I come down during 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I come down around 8 o'clock in the morning. I come back from work 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Okay, there's still plenty of parking. I can see plenty of spots. So there's no reason for you to have to say, okay, I'm gonna have to limit the ability for my nephew to be able to stay with me now because you guys want to put a parking restriction on the block. There's plenty of parking where I live. Not to mention, yes, they did build some new apartments on, what is it, 3rd Street? On 3rd Street. They have parking in the back. They have their own parking lot. So, and there's still plenty of parking. So it doesn't make any sense to me why you guys are penalizing me now, where now my nephew's gonna have to leave and I'm gonna have to struggle to stay where I'm staying. It's not fair. It's not fair at all. When I tell you, God is my witness, when I tell you there's plenty of parking, there's plenty of parking. We live on James Street. Okay? I know what I see every single day. You guys don't live on my block. None of you do. So you can't sit up here and penalize me and say I gotta pay $5 and my nephew has to have my address on his driver's license for him to park his vehicle there. That's not fair. If you guys want to come up with something else by saying, well, whoever lives in that area, let's say, for example, where I live, if you're saying that, listen, I can get as many parking permits as I want, okay, but the car doesn't have to be registered to my address, but because I live there, then that's fine. I'll deal with that. But I'm not going to be penalized and have to struggle because you guys decide that, oh, we're going to charge $5 for parking and somebody else can't park here because he doesn't live here. When he does, just because he doesn't have my address doesn't mean he doesn't stay there. That's not fair. There's a lot of people that are in tough situations where they had to have some family members come down to help them out every now and then. And that's the situation that I'm in. Okay? So unless you're going to pay my mortgage, okay, I vote for you guys to decline. Okay, decline this measure.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, please. Is the timer working? I'm not hearing
It
it.
is. I think the battery's dying.
My name is Robert Nettles. I live on 2nd Street. this $5 you want for a permit, what does it guarantee us? It won't give it a parking space? The other cars can park there? We're being punished for no reason, all right? So, okay, so a person without a parking permit parks in front of my house and goes where you gotta go. I come home, I still can't park there. They said $5 is not what it is, but they ain't doing nothing. You're taxing me for nothing. And then again now, if you check it, 230 Central Avenue, they park there, all right? And the hospital, which you know, and they park overnight. I'm talking about 230 Central Avenue. No matter what time we come home on 2nd Street, it's hard to find a parking spot because the people that is parking there don't live on 2nd Street. In addition, on Clay Street, on the south side, there's no parking on that street at all. Why? There's only one driveway, 2 driveways there. Why can't people park around there? Why you gotta park on 2nd Street? And why can't you allow parking on Clay Street? This is against our residents here. We're being punished for something we're not doing. You didn't have the towns come here and take the parking spaces from residents that's paying taxes. This can't happen legally, but what you do, what you can do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am?
Hello, Kelly Robinson. I'm on First and James. I'm on a corner house. I just had some questions. You said a portion of James Street. What portion of James Street are you talking about?
That's what I'm looking for as we're talking.
I'm sorry?
I'm actually looking for that part where we're talking.
Oh, okay.
But, Dave, you know?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh,
Bend it down, Kelly.
It doesn't say which portion on here.
Does not.
it doesn't say what portion of, because I know in the paperwork you said this, it said a portion of James Street.
And I repeat myself when I started, this is a discussion on parking permits. This has not been determined. We wanted to get community input. They asked why the businesses weren't notified. We were interested to find out what the residents thought first. So I think we're a little ahead of ourselves here, but I'm trying to get input from the community because the truth is, people don't respond to these letters when we send them out sometimes. Obviously, you folks were kind enough to come out tonight, but this $5 fee is not gonna make the city rich. It's not gonna make my budget whole. There has to be some fee for.
It's not just that.
Okay, so could I just finish?
It's not
Could
just a $5 fee.
you?
Hold on one second. Hold on. I hear what
Hold
you're
on,
saying.
hold on. Oh,
Hold on,
ma'am, we cannot, no, ma'am, excuse me. We cannot allow back and forth discussion from the audience. That's what the podium is for, okay? And we gave everybody sufficient time so far. I can't find exactly where they're talking about on James Street on this.
Okay, and as the young lady stated, did you take into account people in her situation? Is she able to get more than one parking permit?
Like I said, this is a conversation we're having on parking. She admits that she has 2 parking spots in her driveway. Her nephew could park in those 2 spots and she could park on the street.
No, he has 3 cars. He has 3
You said-
cars. He has 3 cars.
Ma'am, please. No outbursts from there, please.
Outside of her
Can I
situation.
stop her time, please? I don't want to lose her time. Folks, we're getting way ahead of ourselves. This is just a discussion. Nothing's being decided tonight in stone on this, all right? This is why we let you know and you people come, okay? This is a discussion, so we're listening to you, all right? But we have to stay rational, both sides here. We want to hear everything you have to say. We're going to take that and we're going to process it and move on. And you'll find if you look back with us, we're very fair, all right? And as far as the hospital goes, the hospital itself gives, when you work for the hospital, everybody is designated a parking spot. Every single employee, all 8,000 of them get a parking spot. But that doesn't help the people who try to come home and park in front of their house and they can't because there's a hospital employee there because he doesn't want to shuttle from somewhere else, all right? So that, I agree 100% needs to be addressed, no doubt about it. The hospital is responsible for its employees and its parking, all right? So that's going to be an issue that needs to be dealt with between the city manager and Hackensack University Medical Center, okay? Okay, continue her time, please.
Okay, and what are the hours that the parking permit is going to be in effect? I didn't hear any hours. I don't.
From my understanding, it's 24/7. That's your parking on the street.
Oh, 24/7, the parking permit?
Yep. If you're parked there at 2 o'clock in the morning, nothing's gonna happen to you.
No, I'm sorry. Because I know over by the hospital, it's not 24/7. Like on, what is that over across on Prospect? It's from a certain time, I think, that you.
What, the
people
resident
who-
parking stickers
Yeah.
you're talking about?
Yeah.
I always thought they were for the duration of the day.
I think it's from seven in the morning to
7 to 7?
in the afternoon, evening.
That's the non-permit, or
You can park your car
without a permit.
without a sticker at 8 o'clock at night up until 7 o'clock in the morning. You don't need a sticker.
Okay. From 8 p.m. to 7 a.m., you don't need a sticker.
Don't need a sticker.
Okay.
Now, after that, you need a sticker or you get a ticket.
Okay. So from 8 p.m. until 7,
Correct.
you don't need a sticker.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Got it. And does that apply on the weekends?
Yes.
Okay.
Doesn't make sense.
Should be in the ordinance.
All right, I just think that you need to take into consideration what she indicated about people that do have other people staying in their homes, if they're able to get another parking sticker for them. That's it, because I do have a business by me that's just parking cars all weekend by my house. I can barely get out my driveway, and I kind of agree with it, because I can't
Okay.
take that.
Ma'am, your time is up, though. We still have
No
quite a few to go. Thank you. We appreciate it. Next, please.
My name
Hi,
is
ma'am.
Dale Bazemore, I live on 3rd Street in Hackensack.
How are you?
And I think it's a little ridiculous that, first of all, I can understand if you want people to have parking permits, but why are we paying taxes and then we have to pay $5 for a permit? Other towns have permits, they don't charge you $5 for a permit. I lived in Rutherford for years, they had permits and we didn't pay for them. They don't pay for them in Carlstadt, they don't pay for them in East Rutherford. I don't know why we have to be, $5 maybe is not a lot of money, but I think that it's ridiculous that we have to pay $5 for a permit. And we're so, our block, we don't have a problem of hospital employees. We have somebody who has a straight truck that feels like it's a commercial area and parks their truck there all week long, every night. That's another issue. There's no ordinance that says that he can't park there. So maybe you have to take a look at adding another ordinance. But I don't see why, we're paying $5 to park in front of our own homes, or our children pay $5 to park in front of our own home when we're already paying tax. And $5 is not a lot of money, but I don't think that we should have to pay for a permit. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. There's no times in here at all.
Good evening, my name is Ron Towns, I live at 325
Pick up the microphone, sir.
Speak into the mic, please, sir. Thank you.
My name is Ron Towns, and I live at 325 First Street, 2 doors off the corner of James. My issue is, we have a auto body shop, 3 doors down from me, and he parks his cars not only in front of my home, but throughout the whole block between James Street and Bedan Place. Now, I've been in Hackensack for the majority of my life, and my family's been here for over 100 years. And I can't even park my car in front of my house. Okay, and I welcome this, even if it's for a couple of hours, but I would extend it to 24 hours. Because First Street is a major thoroughfare. Okay, and it's a county road, and although there's parking allowed, people need to park in front of their house. I don't need to come home at any time during the evening and gotta walk a block at night to my home. I should be able to park in front of my house like I've had for the past couple of years, okay? And I think the idea that you all are coming up with this is great for the community and for the residents. Because commercial vehicles for businesses, if they have a lot, they should have parking space enough to serve their business. And for the residents who have cars and have the ability to park in front of their homes, they should have that right. Because we all pay taxes here. And I understand perfectly the idea that you all are putting forth, and I support it 110%. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Regina DePasqua, Parker Avenue. I paid my $5 over 10 years ago, so I can tell you, it doesn't work. I can't park in front of my house. There are cars parked on my street without stickers. I'm not calling the police on the half dozen cars on my street. They don't see it, they don't look. It's not enforced, and it doesn't work. It's 7 days a week. Want to have a party on the weekend? Where are your guests going to park? That's a concern. People in my neighborhood have had their guests get tickets while attending a party at their house. It doesn't work. And it's supposed to be 2 hours. On the ordinance, I didn't see it. You can only park 2 hours without
Without the sticker.
But who's watching the 2 hours? You know? Who's watching it? All this week, I have not been able to park in front of my house. We have an extra car in my driveway that doesn't have a sticker. My husband comes home at 11:30 at night. I park on the street. I come home at 3:30 in the afternoon and I cannot park in front of my house. Okay? The stickers, and there's cars parked in front of my house that don't have stickers. I don't know how long they've been there because I've been out. So they're still there at 6 o'clock at night. Oh, it's 1 more hour. Am I going to call? Who's going to come? Okay? Police officer didn't see it there for 2 hours. Police officer, they don't enforce it. And I'm telling you, I paid my $5 over 10 years ago, okay, for my car, because my car's that old. But it doesn't work. It's a joke. It really is a joke, because you think you have a spot, you think you can. On my street on Parker Avenue last week, every single day, I could not park in front of my house, and the car in front of my house did not have a sticker. And about 50% of the time, the car's blocking my driveway too, okay? It doesn't work. The police don't look at it. We don't have enough police.
Next, please.
Okay, Kathleen Sarah, Hackensack. I don't know, Dave, what you got your time limit here, but from the gentleman, I just picked this up. It says, no vehicle which does not properly display a valid resident-only parking permit shall be permitted to park on the following streets between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. So there's different times, and it lists a whole bunch of streets. So it is 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. So I don't know, I'm looking at the paper that was sent out. But you know what? I think it's really an embarrassment that you're charging residents $5. I mean, give me a break. It should be free. I mean, if they show proof, that's an insult to people who pay taxes. And you're not business friendly. These people are telling you they're running businesses, and this would just be a hardship. So I don't know how you're going to solve this, but these stickers are not the solution. You might have to have different meetings or see what's going on. And maybe that portion these people are talking about, James Street, it doesn't require it because they don't have a problem there, whoever did their homework on this. So maybe you want to eliminate that. But like Regina says, we know that the stickers do not guarantee any parking, and we know that nobody enforces them. The police department does not have time to check and enforce that, and that's the biggest problem. Thank you.
My name is Kenneth Smith. I live at 276 James Street. I just want to have just a quick question. I know the discussion part, but when the vote comes, the vote going to be on you guys, or it's going to be put out to the public? That's what I'm concerned about.
Well, it gets introduced.
It's introduced to the public?
If we introduce, first an ordinance gets introduced, and after 40 days, it gets voted on to become law. Okay. So, and at that point too, there's also a public session. So this would be the introduction.
This is listed for discussion. It could be introduced if the mayor and council wishes. They could table it for now. We could get further input. Obviously, there's some language issues and some timing issues that need to be addressed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Like you said in the beginning, city manager, you said it's all because of the construction of Hackensack Hospital. To me, construction is temporary, or is it permanent? If it's construction, that means it's temporary. So that means it's not necessary to have a parking permit. I mean, it's not pushing people to put their cars further away from the hospital. If it's just construction, it's only gonna be temporary. So if this ordinance is put forth, will this ordinance be rescinded if it's gonna be temporary? Hello? I'm talking. Please listen to me.
I thought you were
Listen
talking.
when you talk.
I'm sorry,
Please
I thought you were
listen to me. I don't
talking.
repeat myself.
I apologize. I thought you were talking to the manager.
No, it's
Don't be
all of you.
nervous. Don't be nervous.
It's only common decency.
I apologize, sir.
Now I gotta repeat I'm nervous as it is.
Don't be nervous. Don't be nervous, please.
But you-
No reason to be
I
nervous.
said. In the beginning, the city manager said, it's because of the construction of Hackensack Medical. To me, construction is temporary.
Correct.
So is this ordinance gonna be put as permanent or temporary? If it's just because it's temporary, I can see that, you know what, we deal with it for a while, but once the construction is over with, we can go back to regular business. We can park as we wanna park, and we don't have to get that parking sticker as you guys are trying to propose. You know, I mean, is it because of Hackensack Medical Center's construction, or is it because you guys want to get extra? I mean, $5 is not a lot to a lot of people, but you know what? It means something to me.
I
It's not
understand
even the
that.
money; it's the principle.
I understand that.
I don't want.
And I'm going to let him answer that question, but I also want to talk about the construction issue. Go ahead.
I mean, saying because when a person spoke, it says, okay, it's because of the. To me, that's not true.
This construction project's going to take about another 4 to 5 years.
Okay.
For this project. All ordinances, it could be amended, it could be contingent, the ordinance could be written up contingent upon when construction is finished, then the ordinance we go back to dissolve the ordinance. I mean, that can all be fixed down the road. It doesn't have to be permanent.
What I understand, though, once you put an ordinance in, it becomes law, it stays. You know, it's going to be.
Yeah, we've amended many ordinances and changed many ordinances.
Okay.
Happens all the time.
I want to get things through before my 3 minutes is up.
Go ahead, I'm giving you extra time.
I live on James Street. Sometimes walk Central Avenue up to the bus stop to take the bus into the city. Legion Drive or
American Legion.
American Legion Drive. Plenty of park. There you go, my bell. Plenty of people parking there. Do they have
No, you
resident stickers?
can keep talking.
You know, I'm concerned about. You know, do other neighborhoods have resident stickers? I'm new to this.
There's different areas of town that have the same exact issues, and they have their residents parking stickers, because they find a lot of times it's in an area where there's bus stops or transit areas where people take their cars to catch the bus or train, so there's different reasons for it.
Okay, I'm just gonna say this and sit down, but I think the reason why it is being put forth, it's not a good reason for it. It's not necessary. You know, it's just another burden on the taxpayers.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Can we just have, can I respond to you? But I want to.
But this is a public hearing. Let the people talk.
We're gonna let him talk.
I'm sorry.
He just wanted to give you his opinion on something.
Good, because I don't.
This whole meeting and this discussion item was put forth trying to address some community outreach that said that this was an issue. This isn't about $5 fee. That's not going to solve my $106 million budget here. This is about trying to do the right thing for community. The reason why we have COW meetings, Council of the Whole, is that these are work sessions so we can get feedback and input from the community. Otherwise, we just have the public meeting. They'd stamp whatever I put in front of them if they approve it, and we move forward. So the reason why you folks are here, this is the process, how government works to get input from the community so we know what to do. After this conversation, maybe it's time to have a different conversation. But all we were ever attempting trying to do is do the right thing by the residents, and I stand by it.
It's like you're doing the right thing by Hackensack Medical. Because you're more concerned about their parking in our neighborhood.
Sir, I have no ability to control what Hackensack Hospital does. Those 9,000 people that work for them, I can't send them a memo and say, you must park in your parking spot because they provide it. I can only address the issues for the community in the city because this is what I have control over. I have no control over what the hospital does.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, hopefully, if the hospital sees that the residents have this $5 sticker, that they will park in another neighborhood or where they need to park, or we don't want them parking in our area. That's what this is all about.
Hi, Lori Pringle. I just have a quick question.
Sure.
Have any of you, as a council or as individuals, talked to the hospital about has anyone talked to the hospital about their issue affecting us? And if so, why doesn't the hospital get that $5 fee? I know the stickers, I know it costs money to create them, yes, but why should we have to eat that cost? I know $5 is nothing, again, it's the principle, but has anyone talked to the hospital and say, look, you're encroaching on our taxpayers? What can you all do to solve that? And if they say, well, we provide plenty of, what's the thing, they shuttle them to the parking areas, why don't they have a list of all of the 9,000 employees of each one of their license plate numbers? This way, when they ride by and they see all of our stickers and 2 cars don't have stickers, the cops can type those numbers in and go, bingo, that car doesn't belong here. And it should be registered as, I mean, if I have someone visiting me and they park on the street, no, I don't want them to automatically get a ticket. But if Hackensack Hospital has a list of every single employee's license plate number, that is, to me, the best resolution for us and them. And their employees should be punished if they get ticketed more than once. It's not fair. And I know you said you have no control over the hospital. Why not? It's a part of Hackensack. I know they may be private, but still, we share a zip code with them.
I have no control over what the actions of their employees. Let me clarify that. I can't send out a memo, city manager of Hackensack, to all employees of the hospital, you must park in your parking spot.
Okay, but can you table this issue with them?
As the mayor said prior, there's gonna be a discussion tonight. We're just trying to get input from the community.
Gotcha.
We're not, obviously, I take really good notes. Anybody that comes to these meetings frequently will tell you, I go through these pads, one right after another. We'll take this information, I will go out and start checking these facts, and I'll get back to you. Before the mayor and council ever introduce this, there would be a public forum for this anyway.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
So I just have one last thing to say.
Ma'am,
No, I'll be polite, I promise.
no, you can, we're only allowed one shot at speaking at the podium. You can't, it's against the rules. We cannot do that. I'm sorry. You can wait till the public comments at the end of this meeting to do that. You can wait till I reopen the meeting to the public.
All I'm saying, I just asked.
Ma'am, you cannot speak. You cannot speak from the chairs. I'm sorry. I need a motion to close to the public, please.
Oh, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye? Okay, move forward with the agenda, please.
Okay, number 2 is the STIB.
Folks that were here to address this, if you're welcome to stay, you're welcome to leave. It's all up to you guys. But you could, if you want to make public comment later.
I can't.
Nothing was accomplished. The people that don't have
Right?
Construction has huge parking.
But there's this migration, this moving over for people that I don't know whether they don't want to wait in the line, they don't want to take the shuttle, but we seem to be getting some migration.
And if we see that sticker on the street, ticket
I
it.
took their input, we'll call for
They
it.
have to. Who's gonna check it? The hospital has to pursue it. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
They have to.
Next on the agenda is the updated issue of the Stide Park improvements. Darmafowski Engineering is out to bid for the issues that have been identified for Stide Park for 2019. They include the reconstruction of the existing basketball court, remove of the existing restroom structure, construct the pavilion, construct the restroom concession and storage facility, construct a new utilities for the structure. They're talking about water and sewage lines that are haven't been replaced in many, many years. Remove and relocate the existing playground structure and remove and relocate the existing swing set. So as previously discussed at council meetings, the city is basically working through the process of addressing parks in the city to make sure that we continue to update them. So we started with Carver, we're at Stibe, we'll move to either Columbus or Vicini in 2020, and this is the project that's been identified. There was a discussion for a dog park to be in there. There again, we took input from the community. The community decided that a dog park was not suitable at Stibe Park. We've had numerous discussions about it, and the city and the mayor and council, we're not going to proceed with this, but we are going to make these other improvements. So once again, it identifies the reason why we have these types of meetings. We get community involvement and discussion, and then the mayor and council balance the needs of the community and the direction that we're going. Any questions, Mayor and Council?
Just one thing quick, Ted. Can we just make sure that the shade tree is part of this conversation from the last conversation we had with them? Remember we said if there's any changes to trees or whatever, we would just make sure that we at least went over all this with them. And my understanding is that there is going to be some trees.
I thank you for correcting me. I didn't purposely omit, but I did forget to say that there is a schedule to remove approximately 8 trees out of this park. Any of the total of the trees that are removed, it's the city's plan to replant and replace these trees because of their life cycle. They'll be put back into the park. So it's not like we're gonna mow all these trees down, put this in here, and then we're not gonna address obviously trees in the shade tree that's necessary for these parks to continue to flourish in the future.
I'm just saying, just let's reach out to them, because if they hear it, and
We got it.
promise them we keep them in the loop and that they could be part of the selection of the new trees or whatever has to happen. Okay, thank you.
Number 3 is Susan McVeigh. Susan McVeigh is our health officer. She's going to come up and discuss briefly the Chapter 90 temporary retail food establishment. Basically, we're referring to food trucks. Thank you.
Welcome. Good evening, everyone. So we decided to, amongst the inspectors, the city manager, and the city attorney, to revisit the ordinance on food trucks. Our existing ordinance for food trucks only addresses the box lunch trucks that are licensed all year in Hackensack. They're all prepackaged food trucks, prepackaged food, coffee, and drinks.
Right.
So historically, we've had temporary events where we have open food trucks. 4th of July, the old Columbia Day Festival. We had some food trucks in the park recently, and those are temporary and special events. We felt that to avoid confusion, but to also be proactive and accommodating to these, I don't want to say new, but these food trucks that are up and coming and that are becoming very popular, we wanted to put it not just in policy but in ordinance form, so it would be less confusing to the vendors and to the city inspectors, and have everybody on the same page, have some written rules and regulations, some ideas out for them so that everybody knows what they need to do, and so that the food is safe and good for the people and the residents.
Okay, it's a great idea. Council,
Any questions?
any questions? Yep, no, this way it's easier to regulate too. Absolutely.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Number 4 is a discussion item in reference to recreational center fee schedule. With the dedication of the M&M building, there'd be the ability for the usage of the rec center and the additional rooms for activities that would be allowed for residents to rent or for non-residents to rent, and we're trying to come up with an established fee schedule for that, so people know firsthand what the fee would be for the use of 2 or 3 of these rooms. Resident fee for 2-hour intervals on a weekday would be $75. Weekends would be $100. Non-residents, the fee schedule would be weekdays $150 and $175. That's the combination of all 3 of these rooms, so it would be a large space. Just to use the small room through the weekdays would be $40. Weekends would be $65. So we're just trying to establish a schedule so people know and publish, and we're trying to get things started to put in the process because obviously things have changed with the new dynamics of the M&M building and its opening.
What rooms are we talking about, Ted? Is it just that one big room? They were talking about 2?
The
It's not-
partition-
It's not
right.
where the pool table is.
No. There's a large room that has the ability to be divided.
That's
If
the
you-
only room.
Right. If you split that, if you take that divider and open it up, you'd have that whole large space, which I forget how many people that would seat. I'm trying to remember what the fire code calls, but it's a pretty large room. I think there's 10 or 14 tables in there, and I think those tables seat 8 to a table. I'm
thinking 8.
I think it is 8. So it would be a large room. If it's just the smaller rooms, but this is just trying to establish it. This is a conversation the mayor and council can kick around. We're just trying to put something on the table and start to develop a protocol so we know, and our city attorney can put together a city ordinance that would cover that.
And I think you gotta be very careful, because you're opening this up to now, hey, I can rent this for a party, now you're gonna have people bringing food. I mean,
Well, this
or is
is-
it just for meetings?
This is for the mayor and
intended
council.
use is
This
critical here.
This is for the mayor and council to have a discussion whether they would consider this, not consider it. Like everything else, we're just having a conversation to see if there's a need or an issue that wants this, because one of the things that came up originally is if you had an event at the Hack Pack and then you wanted, and it was during the day, and you wanted to have an after party or some consideration, where would these people go? We now have the M&M building. So we're just trying to think of ways that we share the resources that the city has. If there's no interest either by the mayor and council or the public, we'll close the discussions as fast as we started them. But it's just another thought to run this by mayor and council and see, are we interested in this or not? Number 5 is the resolution appointing additional municipal court judge. We've had to do this in the past. We have to get authorization for the assignment judge. Steve, any?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't particularly involved in this, but, certainly I understand the need is out there, and it appears we have approval from the assignment judge, so there'd be no reason not to proceed further with it.
Okay. Any questions, Mayor and Council?
None.
Okay. Steve, the SRO agreement, this is for the school resource officer between the Board of Education and the City of Hackensack?
Yes, that's correct. And I will note that on the agenda tonight is a resolution prior to this, because we are going to declare a necessity due to the issues with conflicts among multiple members of the City Council. We can't have a quorum without declaring necessity, as 3 members either are employed by the Board of Ed, have family members employed by the Board of Ed, and so forth. So the resolution lays all of that out so that the council can proceed to adopt a new agreement to approve the SRO. As I understand, the Board of Education approved the agreement last night. So upon your approval, we will have the ability to provide that critical safety assistance to the schools through 2024. The value has gone up, so instead I think it was $170,000 a year, and I think it's going to start at $178,000 a year plus 2% each year for additional costs to the city. The school board is also going to provide vehicle I think one or two, actually two vehicles, I believe, at their expense that are going to be used by the SROs to perform their activities. And I think everybody's aware that SROs are considered the gold standard of school security these days. They're recommended, pretty much universally. We've been doing it for several years. So we've, come up with terms that would allow this to continue.
Okay.
Number 7 is a discussion for a resolution appointing Jason Soames as the Homeless Task Force member. The Homeless Trust Fund Task Force was created in 2010. It's for the appointment back, so they have individual members from the community that are on this task force that are addressing Bergen County's homeless population. And Jason has kindly and respectfully volunteered for this position. And it can't be an elected official and it can't be an employee. Number 8 is the city code update for the treasurer's position. Steve?
And Jim can pitch in if he needs to, but in conjunction, we are appointing a city treasurer tonight formally. And in conjunction with that, we had looked at the city code, the CFO and I, and obviously Hackensack City Code in many places is somewhat outdated. And there are many references to positions to practices that don't really reflect what we do. And references to the city treasurer, for example, are all in the city code prior to the establishment of the CFO position, which was created by statute fairly recently. So there are some amendments to address how the Department of Financial Administration should work now that the law provides and our city code provides for the Department of Financial Administration to be run by a CFO rather than a city treasurer. So it really isn't going to change any of the practices that we have been doing. It's more modifying the code to reflect what those practices are. I don't know if there's anything more to add than that. And again, all really technical changes, nothing particularly substantive.
Okay. Number 9 is the ordinance for the M&M no overnight parking. As the M&M building is now open and the parking lot has been revamped and sized, the city ordinance regulating city hall parking, since we're similar off-street non-metered lots owned by the city, which is covered by the code 170-46.1. No parking hours, 12 midnight to 6 a.m. metered parking lots. I have the authority as the city manager to overrule that. If there's a special event or some condition that needs approval, I can waive the restrictions and we can do so. But we need to make sure, and one of the reasons is we need the code to control this because of people parking there, leaving their vehicles overnight. We need to get in the next morning. The school next door has parking spots in there. So we've received from Captain Foley the authority for temporary waive for restrictions, and that's created in this new ordinance. Number 10 is a discussion of Summit Ave for no parking updates. And also there's been several discussions and meetings over mid-block crosswalks that have been brought in here. And one of the thoughts was to remove some of the parking on Summit and widen it so it would clear intersections. I think we've cleared that hurdle. The issue is that the traffic division states that they would never recommend mid-block crossing on Summit Avenue. The gentleman keeps coming to the meeting, declares that a mid-block crosswalk will keep residents safe. I can't agree and I can't support that. The police department makes its own individual opinion on this because Summit Avenue unfortunately has a speeding problem to start with. Mid-block crosswalks are not going to assist or slow people down. there's no traffic control device or traffic calming device that's gonna slow residents down. So at this point, until we can find a real solution, we're not gonna move forward with mid-block crosswalks on Summit Avenue. And the last is a plea. I had a meeting with members of the zoning board who also sit on the rent stabilization board. And the problem is because we don't have enough members on the rent stabilization board, we don't have enough for a quorum. So they keep trying to schedule these meetings and then not enough people show up. So they're looking for 2 full-time members and 2 alternates to sit so they can have a quorum. The assigned attorney for that board, Chris Dickus, would be present, and they can start to address and move forward on residents' issues or conditions for rent stabilization. And they ask for a special, basically, shout out for residents to be considered to go on the rent stabilization board. And that would complete the city manager's report for the council of the whole meeting for the 20th.
Okay. That, the motion open to the public, please.
Offer.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Anybody anybody from the public would like to speak, please come forward, give your name and address to the clerk. You'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening again, Kathleen Salvo. I think you people should seriously consider not renting the M&M at all. There's many issues you have to worry about. Damaging, it's all brand new and nice and clean and everything. People who rent it, you don't know if they're going to destroy it, if they're going to bang into the walls. You don't know if they're going to bring liquor in. You're going to have a janitor to be there to open and close the building. It's like the churches that that do this. You don't know if it's going to be a rowdy party. When they come out, you're going to need police protection or police people to be in the parking lot to see if they behave when they come out. And the electrical bill. If you have to air condition the rooms for a couple of hours, you're talking about a couple of $100 right there. I mean, to get air conditioner. So it's making new. I think it should be used for residents only with staff supervision, and I wouldn't consider renting it at all for parties or whatever, unless it's a meeting during the afternoon and you know that who the people are going to be and you'll have control over it. Or for outsiders or anything like that, you're going to do more damage than anything else. I'm very surprised to see this no overnight parking in the M&M building, because we were always allowed to go there at night and be gone by the morning, especially when it was snowing, so that they could plow the streets. You didn't have any input from the residents on this one, whereas you did on the previous people that were here earlier. I don't understand this. I don't understand why, especially when we sweep the streets, we were allowed to go there overnight, and as long as we're out by 7 o'clock in the morning, it was fine. You could be back out into the street. So I don't know what you're doing there. And we were always given that parking lot from Mayor Darminio when he said that years ago that the building was the area was overdeveloped. As far as the trees go in Sty Park, I mentioned this to the city manager. When the trees were planted on Lodi Street, they're very dangerous. They have a water bag. If somebody's standing there and they step onto the curb, they're in a traffic lane. So maybe you might want to think of taking those nice trees before they get destroyed by the buses when they start coming down there when school opens, and replanting them in Sty Park and saving them, because that is definitely a safety issue. There's no buffer. When you put your foot off that curb, you can get whacked by a car because the car is right there. So that's definitely a safety issue. As far as the decals go, I said again, I think it's an embarrassment to charge anybody $5 who lives here with all the taxes we pay, and it doesn't get enforced. It hasn't gotten. We started this back on Roland Avenue years ago, and the hospital was parking there, and the police just don't have time. We're short policemen. We need more policemen. The policemen just don't have time to play with these decals. So that's about it. I will be up next time. Thank you.
Regina DePasqua. Regarding the M&M building, rec center, whatever we're going to call it now, any functions that go on in the Civic Center would be ideal over there, because people that come here have no place to park. It's really difficult. Like the Zumba or whatever exercise classes are going on. Anything that's going on in the Civic Center, they'll have parking over there. If you wanted to use it for that, anything else for rental to the public for parties, no, I don't see that. Go to the Elks Club, you know. On Summit Avenue, okay, you can remove some parking, that's fine, but the gentleman who came here, has been coming here, was not talking about a mid-block crosswalk on
Correct.
Summit, he was talking about Prospect, okay? And I take Prospect from one end to the other twice a day, and I see what goes on there. People cross in the middle of the street, but you don't give them any option between Central and Passaic. There are no crosswalks. It's a long stretch. And it could be done at Gulf or Berry on Prospect, and I've had time to look at it. But there are other mid-block, and one I really, really don't understand. The one by the hospital, nobody understands. That's a mess. On Ross at Pine, it's in mid-block. It goes right up to somebody's driveway, actually. It's only like 2 houses from the corner of Prospect. I don't understand that one. And then there's another crosswalk on Pine, and that's the only one in the whole area. But it's a mid-block crosswalk. I don't know.
Well, go ahead.
All right.
When
Yeah,
you're
well,
done, I'll
that's it
explain that, 'cause
on the
it's
crosswalks.
confusing.
But there aren't as many people over there. There are a lot more people on Prospect that cross the street, whether they're going to one of the apartment buildings. Now the hospital has that building there. People not necessarily going to park on site. They're going to be crossing the street at the Prospect Heights, whether they're going to where the VA is, all those things in there. That getting in there, that driveway is horrible. I don't know how that ever got approved. But people park on the street and cross, and they have no option. So they cross. I mean, I almost hit somebody yesterday. He just walked right out. He's on his phone. But he had no other option. There are no crosswalks between here and there. The final question I have, the city treasurer position, didn't say why we need it. You were going through the code, and so there was an opening and you could put somebody in that slot, is what it sounded like you just said. Didn't say why we need it. You found a job for somebody, is what it sounded like. Why do we need the city treasurer at this point?
I'll let him answer. Your time is up, but I'll let the city manager answer.
In a council meeting, Mr. Solkin brought up the fact that in the city code, we only have the code that says treasurer. The city has not updated its code book because the issue or the title of CFO, Chief Financial Officer, has never been entered into the code.
That's not true, Ted.
It's not?
No, you're wrong.
Okay. Well, in either case,
That was Scott Tucci's.
I mean, if you want, I mean, I can speak to the legal part of that, which is the treasurer. There's two separate issues here. There's one is, the need for additional resources in the Department of Financial Administration, and then the second is corrections to the city code. They're not, they're not necessarily connected. The corrections to the code are more along the lines of, there are references to duties that the city treasurer might perform that the CFO performs statutorily. There's references to how checks are cut, which is not the practice that we follow. We are following an appropriate legally authorized process, but the belief is that the city code should be amended to reflect the process that we have chosen to undertake. So these things happened at the same time, but they are not necessarily connected one to the other. Why we need the resource and the personnel versus, as we always do whenever we look at a code issue, if we see things that need to be updated and addressed, we update and address them.
You didn't tell me why.
Real quick, if I may explain because it's a little confusing, and I'd like to get an exact definition on mid-block crosswalks, because I believe there's a difference between the Ross and Pine issue is basically a T intersection, and the other issues that the gentleman was talking about were actually, but the state, when we redid Ross Avenue, the state made us put a handicap entrance across there, which means that's where crosswalks should, that's where people would cross from one side to the other. That's a new state statute, I believe, that was put into place. And it's not just there, it's in other towns. But you can look that up. But I think what the gentleman was getting at was, it's a difference between an intersection between two crosswalks, say, let's say Central and Beach, for instance. If there's two crosswalks there, there's intersections in there, all right? Those aren't necessarily mid-block crosswalks. Mid-block crosswalks are crossing in the middle of the street, like we're taking an example from Pico Tavern. If people walked across the street, you put a crosswalk there, that's a mid-block crosswalk in my opinion. But the other ones are intersections.
That's a bad area.
That's a bad area to cross, because a lot of people there, and we all lost a friend there. So, you know, I think we need to get a definition on that, but that's that. Sir?
Richard Solican, Hackensack, New Jersey. SROs brings back some not fond memories. You know? As far as the treasurer situation, okay, in 1989, it was the last ordinance my predecessor, Bob Galantucci, had done, because the mandate from the state regarding CFOs had come in 1988. So Jim LaCava's titles were treasurer, auditor. In fact, for many years, if you remember, when you called the second floor, they'd answer auditing. I don't know why we need a treasurer, frankly. That was Jim's old title, then he became the CFO, and they just left it alone. So we've functioned very well for 30 years without that position, and it looks to be a fairly healthy salary to start. I see the nunc pro tunc language, so you're correcting the error, and good for you. It should not have been an administrative hiring. It needs to be the council, and that's a good thing. But it does appear that it wasn't so much a search as that you had someone in mind, and that's the person who got the job. Not necessarily a bad thing, but from opening it, the application of the designee is July 3rd. The interview was set up on July 8th. The interview took place on July 8th with the city manager, and the offer went out on July 10th, and the offer went out on July 10th. I'd like to ask you this, if I may, Mr. City Manager. There's an email from the personnel director to the applicant setting up the interview at your office. And give me a moment to fumble through papers, which I do very well. Oh, yeah, okay. So from the personnel director to the designee, and it's copied to Mr. Mangan, Mr. Ehrenberg, Jackie Stout, Jan McBride. I just want to know. So the interview took place at your office. Did those people all participate in the interview who were copied?
Everyone, list the people?
Okay, I'll go through again. Mr. Mangan,
Yep.
Jackie, Jan.
Jan did not.
Okay.
The Cassandra, the personnel director, was present.
Okay. Well, thank you. The resolution you have on this last point says that you are about to declare that you are satisfied and find her to be the best candidate. When did you discuss this? When did you come to that point, frame of mind that designee is who you want to put in the position?
You could answer, we're out of time, but you can answer the question.
I'm confused what you're trying to ask. There was a process, the personnel interview people, the final interview was with me. You're aware that this candidate worked for us part-time for over a year.
Let me interrupt you. The resolution says the city council determines that this is the best candidate. I want to know when the city council made that determination.
The city council will make that determination by its vote tonight based upon the recommendations of its professional staff. If the council were to choose to vote down the resolution, then they obviously would not determine that she is the best candidate for the position.
I opened all that and I saw no recommendations going from any administrative person to the city council. I saw no minutes of it ever being discussed. So And again, I understand I'm doing pro tem, and I'm not criticizing you for that. I think you did the right thing when it was presented to you. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying, Steve. But, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Gary Tizzano, Fairmount Avenue, Chairman of the Environmental Commission for the city. On the Stein Park issue, I want to thank everyone here tonight for having that open meeting in Stein Park back in June when the residents were invited. I think there was a lot of input, and especially that night at the COW meeting, a lot of those same people attended. So we got an idea. Now, after that committee of the whole meeting, I was approached, as well as Joe Summers, to come up with an idea for the paved area in the back on the west side of the park, since the dog park didn't look like it was going to go forward, okay? So there's an area there right now, about a half an acre, 200 feet by 100, paved, been there forever. Used to be the ice skating rink many, many years ago when I was a kid, to go up there. There's a drain in the middle right now that drains into Coles Brook. I know the city plows snow from Main Street and some of the other congested streets, and for many years it's been placed up there. Okay? The feeling of the Environmental Commission, because we have the task of looking for green space in Hackensack, which is such a scarce amount that we do have in the form of parks, and we're looking into pocket parks, as you know, as part of our program. We'd like to see that area renovated and become pervious, not impervious as it is now. Make it green. We're talking about looking at maybe some type of a serenity or tranquility park, where the rest of the park right now is being developed for active use with kids and adults and what have you. This area could be a little bit more a quiet section for maybe a little bit of an older generation in town. So currently, we're having a little subcommittee of residents from that area that live on Davis and surrounding to come up with some ideas, and they will present them to mayor and council, probably, hopefully before October, to see if you would be receptive to having that area renovated. Now, we know that according to the dollar values on the Stein Park renovations, since the dog park's not going in, those 2 or 3 items add up to about $35,000, if I'm not mistaken. That could be applied, okay? Just an idea. But not to take any more time, this is what we're looking at right now. We feel that area should be brought back to being green, okay? So thanks for your time, appreciate it.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else from the public? Motion to close to the public?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. None opposed? All right, we'll see everybody. I need a motion to go into closed session, please. Sorry.
Offer. Second.
All in favor? Aye. See everybody.
Well, you still need to make the announcement. I do as well.
I'm gonna
Whereas the mayor and council of the city of Hackensack deem it necessary to discuss certain actions under sections 7B7 and 7B8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, which pertains to matters falling with attorney-client privilege, ongoing litigation, personnel matters concerning the employment of a current or prospective public employee. Whereas the mayor and council of the city of Hackensack is of the opinion that such circumstances may presently exist, and whereas the mayor and council wishes to discuss the following issues: personnel matters, ongoing litigation, matters involving attorney-client privilege, matters involving the purchase, lease, or acquisition of real property, any pending or anticipated litigation or contract negotiations. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council of the city of Hackensack deem it necessary to exclude the public from this discussion. The outcome of the discussion will be disclosed within 90 days, or at such time as the interests of the city do not require confidentiality.
I note in closed session I will be speaking on at least 3 cases: Martin, Candela, and a workers' compensation case. The claimant is a gentleman named Mr. Lett. Thank you.
Okay, everybody got 8. All right, I need a motion to come out of closed session.
Offer.
But before you do that, we did speak about the Zisa case, so we'll add that to the list of closed session litigation. Thank you.
And I need a motion to close the council of the whole.
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.